In today's video, we're going to be going over some of our normal stuff, talking about the upcoming pattern where there is multiple cold fronts still expected. The models are kind of keying in on that one around the 9th, 10th of November timeframe as perhaps a more intense Arctic blast in general, so we're going to go over that. But the main focus today is actually going to be taking a little bit more of an extended look and trying to give you an overview of what we expect for November and what the models are saying for November so far, now that it's November 1st. And we're also going to take a little bit of a look at early December as well. And with any long range outlook like this, you do want to take it with a grain of salt. We're going to try to figure out some key trends that we can kind of latch onto, some features that make sense for the long range, but a lot of the specifics might be a little bit different. That's the main thing. So we're looking for key pattern pieces to put together. First things first, we're taking a look here at the month of October as a whole. This is missing the first day of October, unfortunately, so this is the 2nd through the 31st of October, just to see how things went. And we can see overall we had cooler than normal conditions for the West Coast, a bit of the southeast corner of the nation as well, slightly below normal. Outside of that, much above normal for especially the central states, but a little bit of the northeast as well, looking back on October. Now, taking a look at some of the precipitation, again, we will kind of go over the upcoming pattern that is much more upcoming, much sooner. And we can see that we do have this kind of storm system across the deep south, and we didn't go over the current radar, but there is some storminess happening across some of these deeper south states today. And we're going to see this move off the southeast and want to become kind of a coastal system. We see from Florida all the way up into the Delmarva, we're seeing some rainfall as a result of this system. Could be a stormy day for Monday, especially the morning time. And there could be some wind involved as well, but that storm does move pretty quickly just directly offshore. We do see after that a little bit of a cool down. This is coming in the form of a bit of a cold front, so it will cool down a bit for like the Tuesday timeframe, especially here. We're looking at now on the 4th. And then we get another kind of cold front type situation where we have a low here in the northeast. It's not a high precipitation cold front by any means, but we do see cooler air move into the eastern state as a result of this storm. And we do see overall a lot of storminess up there in the mid-Atlantic and northeast happening for in between Wednesday and Thursday. Meanwhile, we'll notice throughout the model run, storminess is going to be a big trend out west. Snowfall in the high elevations, rainfall in the low elevations. That is going to be happening almost continuously throughout this model run, as you can see. We do see another kind of cold front develop here. This is your more intense one. We're looking at November 9th now, a 981 millibar low pressure center there. Right over the UP of Michigan, we do see some snowfall for northern Minnesota, so we're getting some northern plains, upper Midwest snowfall starting to become pretty evident in the upcoming pattern. That cold front rolls through, and then this is that very intense Arctic blast I was talking about, and we do see it actually on both our European and GFS models today. So there is some pretty strong indications. This is right around the day 9 timeframe, 8-9 timeframe, so this is kind of the medium to long range, somewhere in between there. We will ask you to probably take it with a bit of a grain of salt, but this is getting closer and closer, and indications are that this will be a pretty intense Arctic blast at this point. We can see there is some low pressure and precipitation in the center of this trough, which is fairly typical, but another thing here is we do have a pretty moderate nor'easter. It's a quick moving one, but we do see precipitation along the eastern seaboard as a result of this, and again, likely wind there in the northeast on the very forefront of that trough that's moving in. A lot of snow showers happening in parts of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley area, especially, and then some higher elevations up there in New York. Definitely an interesting scenario. That trough sticks around for a few days, 11th, 12th, and it starts to lift off here, as you can see. We actually move into somewhat of a warmer pattern, briefly at least, it looks like, for the 15th. And this is, of course, the very far out range. This is the 15 days out, 16 days out, something like that. So 986 here. Right there in the upper Midwest, some snowfall behind it, which is fairly typical. So we see that again for the northern plains and upper Midwest. But when we look at the dynamics of this system, we see the cold front dragging underneath, and we see a very intense looking warm front here. So you end up getting this warm sector in the eastern states, and we do expect perhaps, as of now, again, this is the very long range, this could change quite a bit, but as of now, from the model guidance, what it looks like is that there would be a warm sector that would cause a very intense warm-up for a day, maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days, but something very short like that would cause a very intense warm-up immediately after that intense Arctic blast we saw before it. We'll look at the temperatures in a little bit and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about, but as we take a look at the total precipitation, the west, even the southwest now, is looking pretty phenomenal. And then we can see the deep south up through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast in particular is also getting quite large amounts, with areas in the plains seeing a little less and the Southeast seeing a little bit less as well. So looking at the anomalies, again, you get more decent amounts here in the West and then kind of like the North Central states here. So we're seeing areas across the Great Lakes, Midwest, Northern Plains, Northwest, Southwest here, these areas in particular. And then you can see for the South Central states, Southeastern states, and then up a lot of the East Coast. A little bit below average is what the model guidance is suggesting right now. Total snowfall is the most impressive we've seen of the season so far. The Mountainous West gets a ton. The Northern Plains get a ton. The Upper Midwest gets a ton. The Great Lakes get a lot. Even some of the Ohio Valley, as we mentioned, getting some snow showers. Then the Mountainous Northeast seeing quite a bit. So this is the most wintry snowfall map we have seen so far on the season. And honestly, if we see that major Arctic blast and we see storms coming through with snow showers, I wouldn't be surprised if there is quite a bit of snowfall, especially in like the northern third of the nation. So really interesting stuff. And we're getting to that time of year, guys. It makes sense. European models temperatures here. We see cooler conditions for now as we've seen that Halloween trough roll through. That's going to last into the midweek. We do see again, half a day warm up here sometime between the 5th and 6th, and then another cool down moves in immediately after, and that lasts for the 6th. 7th, and then the 8th, 9th is very warm out ahead of that cold front that's rolling in along the East Coast. But look at this intense Arctic blast that moves through. We called it an Arctic blast not because it's going to be frigid, but I'll move this to the North America view to make things a little easier to see. But the Arctic's way up here, and we're going to see it blast down. Remember, the Arctic is a place, not a temperature. So when I say Arctic blast, that means Arctic air blasting down. Watch this play out. It really does. And you look at the dates, watch how quickly this happens too. Just absolutely explodes down into the eastern states, right up there from the Arctic Circle. Pretty crazy stuff. Very intense. And for a lot of the areas here, especially in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, we're looking at some temperatures here that are indicated as 15 to 25 degrees below normal, which is a very substantial departure from what's typical. This would be wintertime temperatures, no way around it. So pretty crazy stuff. As we keep going, again, after that very intense Arctic blast, we see a very intense warm-up out ahead of the very strong low that would be located around here at this point. So you get the cold front right there, warm front right here, and this is that warm sector we were talking about, bringing perhaps 15 to 25 degrees above normal for some of those brown, kind of tannish brown areas. Very intense swings in temperatures here for the upcoming pattern. Mostly cooler, though, obviously, with multiple cold fronts coming through in an Arctic blast. The GFS model, we get that intense Arctic blast around the 9th, 10th here. It's a lot less intense than the European model, though. Then we do see that very intense warm-up here for the days following. And then we get another major cool down, though, on this one for the 13th, 14th, 15th. And then we get a very intense warm-up. So very back and forth here as well, even maybe more sporadic than the European model was. Here's where we kind of get into the long range, though. We're going to be taking a look at the European weekly model, also known as the European extended ensemble model. We'll be looking at the GFS version of this as well. And this is in 7-day increments. They don't have single-day images for this particular model, but the 31st through the 7th of November makes sense here that we're looking at cold in the east, warm in the west. Here's the 7th through the 14th, a little bit neutral along the East Coast for this time frame, mostly warmer for the central and western states. And then we see the 14th through the 21st. Right now, this model is indicating warmer than normal for the central and eastern states with a little cooler along the west. Then for the 21st to 28th, it's looking quite similar. But then once we get to the 28th and the 5th of December, we start to cool back down again. And this would be interesting because this would coincide kind of with what we saw last year, where it was really a warmer fall overall. And I think that this fall has overall been much cooler than last fall. But it was suddenly in late November into early December that we just flipped a switch into the colder temperatures, and it just never stopped the whole winter. So this would be an interesting way to move into this fall and winter as well. What was that? 28th through 5th, and then we got the 5th through the 12th here, cooling down even more in the east. And it looks like it's getting even worse for the final frame here, the 9th through the 16th of December. The GFS extended ensemble model here. We do see through the weeks of November overall kind of a warming trend towards the east until we get to late November, which is very much so similar to the European model. We get a little bit neutral here for the 20th through 27th of November. As we look through the 27th through 4th of December, we do see cooling trend again there in the east, and we kind of end off on a colder note in the east as well. You might be thinking, okay, this looks pretty like all over the place or like a little bit mild, right? You see the lighter blues and the lighter yellows, no aggressive temperatures or colors here. And the reason being is not the extended part on this model, but the ensemble part, because we're taking 25 different models and putting them together and taking the mean average of what all of them are calling for. And, you know, as time goes on, you start to see those ensemble members, which are basically individual models that we're, again, compiling together here. As those individual models go on further and further out, they obviously start to disagree a little bit more. And what happens is what I call averaging out, where we have so many different models going in different directions that you end up getting a much more typical looking temperature pattern, more typical than even typical, if that makes sense. Because again, your climate averages are not average to see on a particular day. It's just if it's 10 degrees below normal today and then 10 degrees above normal tomorrow, that equals out to the middle of the two, but you never even saw it happen. So again, this is almost more normal than normal. So if this was not an ensemble model, we would likely be seeing more aggressive colors and temperatures. So that's why it's important for us to kind of just key in on the indications of trends, like at the late November to early December timeframe. Cooler than normal conditions to some degree in the east. That could be a couple of degrees below normal, or it could be 10. You don't really know what this model's trying to say because you don't know what the members are individually saying. And again, I mean, same thing here on the European model. We have cooler than normal conditions here for, again, the early December timeframe. So that is a pretty key piece to the puzzle that we are seeing on the models. Also for late November, you know, the midway point to just after the 20th, we're having both models here. Let me switch over 16th to 23rd. Both models are in pretty good agreement that this time frame is warmer in the central and eastern states here. 16th through 23rd of November, we see both models sort of agreeing here with the colder west. There's a lot that plays into that, but we do have indications that some of our teleconnections, like the MJO, are going to go into unfavorable phases, at least unfavorable for cold in the east for a brief time. And as it moves through all these phases over and over and over again, it circulates, and we have to kind of get through this phase and move on to the next one to get into a much more favorable pattern. But overall, I see pretty good agreement from these models, and I think that we can expect a colder start as we're seeing a warm up at some point around the midway point of the month that lasts a week to maybe 10 days. And then probably descending back to colder temperatures before we reach December is kind of the current way that I see the month. Let me know how you think November's going to go. Let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure to like the video. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.